we will start the meeting of the Monroe County Economic Development Commission on Monday, June 27th, 2022, with a roll call or a call to order. Hear ye, and a roll call. Fred Schultz is present.
Ron Smith is present.
And those are the two current appointees to this commission, so we're good.
Look at that. All right. So next we have a election of officers listed on the agenda. And what happens if we split 1-to-1?
Well, then we'll maintain last year's.
Oh, geez. He has all.
You're
the
there
answers.
until you're relieved.
No. Does anybody wish to nominate themselves?
Well, last year you were president.
Yeah.
And you were secretary.
Right. I'm fine with just leaving it that way. Unless you have a serious preference,
I do not.
Fred.
I do not.
I'm fine.
I make a terrible note taker, so I guess I would not be a good
Oh,
secretary.
yeah. Thank you for reminding me, because I think I always forget to do that. And with that duty, should I be sending you notes after meetings?
You can if you want. I guess when you meet so infrequently that I just watched the video of the last meeting before the meeting and I do the minutes that way. And
Okay,
it gets me up to speed on where things got left off.
All right, well,
that's perfect. Yeah.
so we will vote. I think I take the motion, I take Ron's position as to be a motion to keep the current officers as Fred Schultz, president, and Ron as secretary. So
I second the motion.
okay, so all in favor say aye. Aye. So we will leave it as Fred Schultz as president and Ron Smith as secretary for the coming year. And now we are to review tax abatement compliance forms, and I received one for bioconvergence and one for Pravelli LLC, and then another for GLC Bloomington Health LLC, Phoenix Closures, and Ecologic. Are those all of the ones that we need to review?
Yes,
And that's 4 or 5. Sorry,
there should be 5.
5. Okay, I was flipping back and forth. One was really older and it was confusing me for a minute. This. Oh, no, I got them all. Sorry, I can't count today.
If you want me to kind of give
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
brief overview.
Absolutely.
I think 3 of these are the first time we've seen a CF1 form 4. And if you recall, and right after the pandemic hit, we had 2 tax abatements come through. Those were Pravelli and Ernest Health, which is represented here by GLC Bloomington. The third one that's new is Phoenix Closures,
Okay.
and they basically had just gotten done with the investment, and it took them longer than expected. I don't know if that was pandemic related or not, but they got a real estate and a personal property abatement. They only filed for the personal property because the real estate was not done when the due date was, and so you'll see the first real estate for them next year. For Ecologic, Phoenix Closures, and Ernest Health, you look at their CF1 forms, they exceed what they were mentioning in their statement of benefits, which is what we base the tax abatements off of.
Right.
And again, this is to review and give a recommendation to the county council whether they're in substantial compliance or not. Unless you have any questions about those, I think they're fairly straightforward. If they're above what they've promised, and it's hard to say they're not in substantial compliance.
Right.
Bioconvergence, this is kind of an older this was approved a while ago. This may be their last year, or they may have one more year after this.
Mhm.
Their numbers are down. Their numbers have been down for essentially the whole term. And that is because when they made the statement of benefits, they had anticipated putting an additional line in for and I don't even remember what it was for, but it was for a purpose that one of the other local companies had taken
Mhm.
over. So if you
Right.
look at that, you'll notice that not only are their employment numbers down, their investment numbers were down. And that has been discussed by the county.
Yeah.
Basically since the inception, and everybody has been comfortable with their explanation.
Yes,
My understanding is they found themselves, they thought that they were going to take a line that was going to be beneficial to them, only to find out that I believe they were competing with Cook, who had like dramatically more market power than they did.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the purpose of the tax abatement is not to have local companies compete against.
Right, right,
It's
right.
to compete against the outside market.
Right.
And then the last one's Provelli Inc. They are not scheduled to have their complete complete their whole process until the end of 2023. At this point, they have 35 new employees. I think when you look at the chart of when they came in, they thought they'd have 40 new employees. So that's really the
so
number.
that's pretty close.
Yeah.
It's close, and I can tell you from a county employer perspective, we're finding it harder than we had 2 years ago to find employees. So they're within 5, and so if you look at the salaries, when they initially made this, they thought they would have just under 3 million in salaries, and it looks like right now they have about 2 million.
Mhm.
And so they're still, I mean, but then they said their completion date wasn't until 2023. They had a phase of process. So those are the abatements.
Yeah, so I have a question, kind of, if at the end of, what happens if you gave them the abatement and that's probably for 10 years or whatever, and then they hit 3 years and then they don't meet their numbers. And I know we don't always do this, but if we decide that they aren't in substantial compliance, then the abatement just ends. How does that mechanically work?
They wouldn't receive the abatement for that year, right? I'm not sure it ends. I think the following year they could supply a CF1 form, and things have changed. Things have changed.
Okay, thank you. They could come back in compliance. So it's on a year-to-year basis that the abatement is administered?
Yes, so this decision is annually. Now, I'll tell you, historically, when we've had people who were not meeting their obligations, the next step is to talk to them, figure out why, and see, is it a minor blip? Is it something that's going to be, and work through those issues at that time. I know we've had abatements where the person who did it, and I can only remember one of these, typically 95%, we're not really worried about this. And typically what they do is they'll just pull the abatement and say, you're right, we're not living up to our obligations. And they'll just say, we're just ending the abatement. That's typically the response we've gotten. Again, typically being a one-time event. Usually when you talk to them, they're like, here's our issues, here's our problem.
Yeah.
And it's the standard in the statute is due to factors beyond the control of the company, right? So
Yeah,
that's a pretty hard standard to get over.
And one of the things I like, and of course, I understand that I'm saying something that will require other people to do work. So understand that it's, we can all only do so much at any given time. But one of the things that I like about the abatement process is that it creates a conversation between local government and business, and that it's something that we can it gives us a reason to reach out. It gives businesses a reason to reach out to the local government. And there's an awful lot of conversations that can be had through this process that I think we could benefit from, both both in the local sector and the private sector and in the government sector to find out what's going on in our community, even on more intimate detail, and to create partnerships that can help further everybody's interest, the community's interest. So
Yeah, I learned a lot about that whole process, and I agree with you. I think there was somebody last year, maybe it was Provelli. Somebody sent something in. We talked about, oh, they're not really in compliance, kind of, and then it was like there's extenuating circumstances, and it was a great conversation, and it was something that we were really comfortable with. And I agree with you.
And that would have been 3D stone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right, because they indicated that all the routes they were going to try to find employees, and they just were having trouble getting people in the door that met their requirements to working with. I mean, they carve lines stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I realize that the city, the county government, city government, private business, we're all struggling to get more staff. I mean, it's hard right now. And, but, in the future, one of the things I would love to see is a conversation about how do we, as local government, staff ourselves such that we can actually proactively reach out, find out what's going on, what else could we, think of all of the information we could gather so that as we make policy decisions about education and investment in various things, there's an awful lot of information at our fingertips. We just don't have the capacity at the moment to gather all of it.
right, and to be proactive.
And to be proactive.
Yeah, same thing happens at city council with, we get sometimes hit with things and we're like, oh, it would have been really good if we would have kind of like had some proactive stance 6 months ago or a conversation, but sometimes that's just not how it's structured.
Yeah. All right. So do we need to take a vote on?
In your packet, there should be a recommendation to the Monroe County.
Yes, yeah, I saw that.
It's got two lines. One is you approve the tax abatement. You move to recommend approval of the tax abatement compliance forms allowing the abatements, or you reject the tax abatement compliance forms. We'll say if you choose to reject it, let's reject it on an individual basis.
Okay.
Because I think at least 3 of them, I don't think you have
An issue with.
an issue with at all, and potentially even 5 of them you don't have an issue with.
Right.
But that's it's written in such a way that it,
Sure.
and then we did this last year where we amended it to allow a no recommendation on 3D stone so that they could come in and make a presentation.
Right. That's right.
So that is always an
option. So I am fine with approving or recommending approval of the forms as they are.
I'm okay with that too. I read through the packet this morning and the fact that Jeff talked about some of the ones with the numerical differences, I'm fine.
Okay. All right, then I will check approve and I will sign.
I think we should vote on that.
Oh, I think you're right. I think we need to vote on, I would, is there a motion to approve?
I will move that we will approve on June 27, 22, Monroe County Economic Development Commission for the following entities: Provelli, Ecologic Bioconvergence, Phoenix Closures, and GLC Bloomington, and approve their continued compliance for the tax.
I second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. So I've checked approve and I've signed, and I will hand that to Mr. Smith.
that over to
Our esteemed
our
council.
esteemed legal counsel.
That one had a wrong date on it.
I will check
Oh,
approve.
yeah.
I forgot the year passed.
All right. Next on the agenda, we have minutes from our, I can't believe was it November 4th, 2021? Wow, okay. Our last meeting, minutes from the last meeting dated November 4th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
November 21.
Yes, having reviewed them, all in favor, say aye.
I
Aye. All right, motion carries.
do you need
No, I don't think we
anything
need
on
to do
that?
it.
Okay, gotcha.
Commissioners' comments, I think we've had. Taken out of order.
I had one thing I want to
Yeah.
just like bring up. On Mondays for next semester, I'm gonna teach a class at 1 p.m.
Okay.
on Mondays. Just once a week on Mondays. And so,
That's in the fall.
yeah, so, fall starts in August. Or
Yeah.
whenever it is.
Yeah.
I can always get that. Yeah, so if we have another meeting, if it can be, pretty much I'm free most other times except for that, because I'm a retired fellow, so.
What class you gonna be teaching?
Communities. Groups, something else. I always forget the third thing,
Yeah.
Graduate for social work.
Oh, yeah.
I did that last year, first time. It was pretty fun once I got beyond that, getting up to speed on Canvas,
Uh-huh.
and the class was a little bit in disarray when they gave it to me, and I was like, yeah, I haven't done this in a while. Where's the reading for this that it says that? And they're like, well, we were working on that class. I'm like, well, thanks a lot for telling me that. Anyway,
Yeah,
so if we can just be aware of that.
sure.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
that's it from me.
All right. Having no other comments, then I would adjourn the meeting.
So be it.